the most important thing for both agencies and client side is to hire the right people. Hire those people that have this fire in their eyes, that are creatively driven, that have taste, and that are open and willing and capable of learning new things.
This is the Commercial Content Podcast. What marketing decision makers need to know about the future of content. In this episode, Norbert talks with Falk Ebert about AI strategy in business. Falk is a strategy and innovation consultant who helps brands and agencies navigate through digital transformation, specialized in marketing strategy, immersive technologies, and AI. After holding senior positions at agencies such as Scholz and Friends and United Digital Group and serving as Director Digital at LIGANOVA, he went independent in 2022. He's the co-founder of the KI Night, a Germany-wide community event series focused on the practical application of AI in business. Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right in. Here's Falk and your host, Norbert.
So, welcome, Falk.
Hi, nice meeting you again.
Good to have you here in our little... We're out of home again with the podcast, so we're in Stuttgart at the moment.
We're in my home city.
Your home turf.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for coming to my city. That's amazing.
Yeah, actually, it's a pleasure. I always, long story, I've been here for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
After film school, I stayed in Stuttgart for another, 14 years or something. So always good to come back, and happy that we can take the opportunity to meet again.
Yeah.
And talk about AI.
Let's do that,
in general and special, or however we can approach this. But before we do that, I have a little format called 7 questions.
Oh, no.
Which I would like to ask you just to get a little warmed up and get some more information about you.
Do I need to answer rapidly?
Yes, and we don't edit.
Okay.
So the first question is, which media had the greatest influence on you as a child? Was it television, games, books, or cinema or social?
I think books, after all, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a lot of... I spent a lot of time in the library when I was a kid, like after I started learning reading, and I read a lot of science books, and I think that had a profound impact on me. But in terms of time spent, it's probably the Nintendo 64. So games might have played a role as well. Yeah.
I would have guessed gaming, but
let's be honest. Back in the 90s, the games weren't that culturally impactful, probably.
How about those books where you can, Dungeons and Dragons, where you could start reading and then read some page again, and or flip and start somewhere else, and
these choose your own adventure games.
Somehow.
Yeah, I had some of those books as well, and I really liked them.
Yeah.
But the actual pen and paper role playing, like Dungeons and Dragons, where you sit down and you create a character and everything, that came way later in my life.
How did that go?
Oh, so you have a dungeon master, and he's telling a story, and all the other people at the table, all the other players have their one character. And from there, it's just a mixture of improvised role-playing. So you role-play the story together, but you also have a rule-based system for the fights, how many points you do, how many points of damage you do, and how much you can move sometimes on the table and stuff like that.
Is that what we saw in Netflix?
Stranger Things. Exactly, that's Dungeons and Dragons, yeah.
Okay.
And it's great. I can give you an introduction one time, because it's a fun hobby.
Actually, so a sad story, because on the corner where I live in Berlin, there was a board game store, and they had a puzzle store on the other corner, and they're both recently closed.
Oh, it's too bad.
So probably for, some reasons.
But actually, I feel like the whole pen and paper thing, including Dungeons and Dragons, or especially Dungeons and Dragons, has a kind of a renaissance, because it was a huge thing in, I don't know, before my birth, like in the 80s or something. Where there was parents being in panic because it might lead their kids to Satanism and stuff.
So it was the same before games came up. They had the same fear about books, about
absolutely,
because they were dragons,
absolutely,
or what?
Because you can wield magic in it.
Oh my God!
Which is absolutely not Christian. If anybody other than Jesus has magic,
there's no magic. Well, how should there be magic? Okay.
And then computer games came around and copied all of the mechanisms and the characters and the worlds and the systems in the background of these, and people spend way more time playing role-playing games on computers, right? But I feel like now the whole pen and paper thing has a kind of a comeback, especially in Germany.
But it's interesting that actually, so all the gaming, like as we know it, came from board games and books.
Yeah.
Like the patterns behind it, like how you call it,
The systems,
system,
yeah, especially in role playing, right? I
Okay.
mean, still in most computer games today, let's say you kill enemies, then you get XP, experience points, and then you use them to level up a specific skill, which, if you think about it, doesn't make any sense because usually you get better by doing something, not by killing something, and then you choose what you get better in. But that's the origin of the rule systems of most role playing games. Actually, the pen and paper role playing.
Okay, interesting. Never thought about it like this. But I never was a gamer, so still not.
There's still time.
Yeah, I know. It will happen. I know that. Okay, so what do you remember as your first encounter with advertising then?
Well, that must have been in the 90s at some point. And it was probably either a TV ad. There have been some iconic TV ads from the 90s. But then again, I remember like my parents were quite strict about how much TV time I've got or how much screen time. So I think one of the earliest memories was actually an advertisement for the Nintendo 64, which came out in the late 90s. And I remember reading some brochures and pronouncing all the English terms like controller, not in a super correct way, but in a quite German way. And I also remember there was a video store in our hometown, like not for rental, like the video recorders, machine stuff. And they had a VHS running a loop, which has been an advertisement for a Nintendo console, and I remember standing in front of it was even before the Nintendo 64, it was an advertisement for the Super Nintendo and the Super Game Boy, which was new at the time. And I remember standing in front of that shop window and just looking at this loop over and over again.
People stand in front of a shop window to watch a video. Just imagine where we come from. Interesting.
It's super interesting, and it definitely caught my attention there because it was kind of a new thing. I didn't know a lot about any of these things like Nintendo consoles, Donkey Kong. So it was quite impressive for me as a kid.
I remember there was a store in our village, and they had like these Mattel Hero He-Man figures.
That's so 90s.
I never had them,
yeah.
so that was nothing. That was nobody understood why we should have them. And actually, maybe it's better in the looking back.
It's quite fun, right? People say that like depictions of women are usually so sexist, but look at He-Man and what a picture of masculinity he portrays, right?
Yeah, we should all watch Barbie. Actually, I did recently. It's a good movie.
It is.
This. I mean, it's the story behind it is actually yes. Okay, so where do you currently prefer to spend your time? Movies, console, or social?
So I don't think those are quite exclusive, right? I think console can also be quite a social thing.
Yeah, true.
Local multiplayer and stuff. But
it was a test question, just because.
Yeah, nice. Can I say PC? No, it's probably, to be honest, not social because I love all my friends and clients, but I'm still an introvert, so it's quite hard for me to get out. And there's usually enough of this in my life. And no, I prefer. Like also being a family man, I prefer having nice alone time in front of the console or the PC currently a lot, yeah.
But you also play console games with others, but then you have another name or another alter ego or something?
Yeah, sometimes online, sometimes also local multiplayer. So I'm playing with my daughter, for example, now. She's old enough to relive through my childhood games with me, which is a super awesome bonding activity. But this has changed a little bit actually in the gaming space. It's less meeting new people with a pseudonym like it was earlier, like 1 or 2 decades ago. It's more that I meet with the people that I know anyway, which are friends, colleagues, family, and we play games together then.
So can you invite, like you say, okay, I'm online now, and then you join and make a date? Or
Yeah, I mean, you usually just make an appointment and then say, let's play. And especially in the PC gaming space, you have this thing called Discord. I'm quite sure you've heard about it. So it's like a room, like a lobby that you can meet in and then decide which game you hop into without needing to change the voice channel.
Nice. Okay. This is like probably, I mean, I know that there's Discord, but I never used it in a way. It's interesting.
Yeah, there are many ways to use it. But I mean, gamers usually have like their lobby and then they meet up with their friends there and they play a game and just, the voice connection stays there. It's like the social layer. You keep talking while the game loads, while you play the game.
Nice.
Sometimes even friends join the voice lobby and talk to you, and one of the players maybe decides to stream their screen that the friend that just joined can also watch the game.
Okay.
And that's kind of how games became more social in the last, 10 years maybe.
I mean, of course, I followed that people look at gamers playing games. So
Mhm.
I didn't know that existed, but it's a big market. Still, is it still?
Yeah, streaming is still big.
I
Yeah,
just remember how
streaming is
Amazon
big.
bought Twitch like it's already some time ago already.
Yeah, well, it's actually some time ago. Yeah, no, streaming is still a huge thing.
Okay.
And it's kind of like always. There's this what do you call it? Media convergence, right?
Mhm.
Streamers also are influencers now, and influencers start streaming,
Okay.
and even politicians start streaming now to get in touch with the younger kids. So they say, let's play Counter-Strike and talk about politics while I play Counter-Strike, and
Interesting.
and
It's
all these
interesting.
kind of things are happening at the same time.
Yeah. But that's a good thing. It's like just another channel to reach the people.
It is in a way a channel, and it's also like a cultural shortcut into people's lives.
Yeah, true. Okay, so if you were on an island that you could only use one channel or app, which one would it be?
That's a good question. I mean, let's assume all the basics are covered, right? I have food and shelter, and so I don't have to think in terms of surviving. But it's super boring. But it might be just like an ebook reader with a ton of ebooks.
Okay.
Because if I have time, why not?
Nice.
Why not read all the books in the world?
If you have time, yes, you have time on an island.
Yeah, and just considering that I can take as many books with me as I want. Because if I had like only one medium in the sense like one work of art, and I would probably not choose a book. I would choose something like Minecraft, the game that you can play over and over and over again and spend endless hours in it.
No, I think book is you have a reader and you have lots of books.
But if you have many
The-
books,
your
that's
library,
probably the best
yeah.
choice, yeah.
Nice. So, how do people outside the industry usually misunderstand your job?
Well, that's kind of hard because I don't even know what my job is.
In your case,
So-
we have to say actually which industry because you
Yeah.
you have different.
Yeah,
hats
that's
on.
true. I mean, I have one foot in the advertising industry still, working as a like brand strategy director. I have one foot in the consulting business, consulting companies on AI. I have one foot in the whole gaming industry and trying to bring all these together: AI and gaming and advertising and AI. But I think, like, from an outsider's perspective, it's quite interesting when people look at the advertising industry, and you probably have made the same experience. People usually think it's about designing. So they say, oh, so you do the ads or the billboards, which is far from what a strategist does, right? I usually don't, sometimes I don't see them even.
Actually, I don't think that people outside the industry even know that there's a strategy behind. I mean, of course, they can kind of guess that, but that there's, if they would know how much strategy there is behind what ad they see on which channel at what time, in
What message, right?
with which message,
Yeah.
and in which like order. That's actually. Most people would freak out if they would know how retargeting functions on social media. Actually,
Yeah, probably. I mean, most people by now have a feeling about how retargeting works, right? Because you search something for 20 seconds and then you have you have all the follow-up ads. No, and I mean, in terms of AI, it's usually easy to explain. I say I help companies use AI and people get it because everybody's using AI now, right?
I mean, you can always say that this is like AI is like, okay, I'm doing something with it. Okay,
Yeah.
because so. But if you were no longer allowed to do what you do, what would you do?
I mean, I have like daydreams of producing video games just as an artistic medium and trying to become something that is somebody who does something a bit more artistic or more
But can't you do that with AI?
culturally stuff. You can, and I have done it. I mean, there are games that I finished that are out there. It just never published them.
I think I saw one on LinkedIn actually. I saw you made a post with some game you programmed with AI.
Was it the clicker game?
I think so. It's some time ago.
I did a few games, but it's just for family and friends or myself even. So it's probably something like that, but it could also be something like just an app developer, because it's the same thing. I've started developing apps as a hobby. Now that you don't need to read or edit any line of code when you create an app, which is the point in history we're right now. I'm not saying these apps that I've been building, like I've built a fitness app for myself. I've built a personal development kind of journaling app for myself. I wouldn't say they are production ready or they should be used by anyone, but for me they function perfectly.
If you're using it for yourself and not as a business, I mean, this is actually also because if everybody can do the apps they want without having to buy them.
That's quite interesting, like how that will affect the app market. Yeah, I mean, think about these tiny, a couple of dollars per month businesses, not necessarily like Microsoft Office or something like that, but
nutrition trackers or
nutrition tracker, period trackers, that those kind of things. And I think people right now don't understand yet how easy it is to build these kind of things for yourself rather than buying them somewhere.
We're right in the topic, actually, but I have one more of the 7 questions.
Okay. Number 7.
What do you do to clear your head?
There's 2 things I do to clear my head. Number 1 is just hiking.
Okay.
With podcasts, or not even necessarily in the mountainous area, just walking. Which might be with or without podcasts or audiobooks, which might be with or without gamifying the steps that I take. There's an app for that as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
There's an app by you remember Pokemon Go, right? Everybody does. And that company has also released an app with another Nintendo franchise, with the Pikmins. And there's an app called Pikmin Bloom, which is heavily based on how many steps you take. So you walk around and plant flowers, and you do quests and everything. And it's a great motivation to go outside and do more steps, yeah.
That's a good thing.
It's actually great, and it is not too predatory in its in the way it's monetizing and everything. And I think it has really had an impact on my life, because being a freelancer, working from home most of the time, if I don't get to go to a podcast studio with you like here, I probably had days where I didn't even take 1,000 steps a day.
Okay.
From the computer to the bed, from the bed to the shower, stuff like that. But now that I have Pikmin Bloom and I get a little badge if I do take 10K steps a day.
Gamification there is again, yeah.
Here we go. It's nice, yeah. Recommended.
Nice. So yeah, actually I don't count my steps, but I have to take a walk every night. Just to take a walk every night. Just to clear to walk around and clear the head, you know.
It helps, right?
I cannot be in my flat all day.
Yeah, it helps. Oh.
Okay, so let's go right in. We talked about it already a bit, but let's talk about AI.
Mm-hmm.
And let's start with, how do you use it yourself? Because we try to find out how AI is already affecting all our lives and also the business lives. So what about you? I know that you're an earlier adopter, so how do you use AI for yourself?
I feel like we've just had a new pivotal moment, or at least a new level in AI, what's possible for private use recently. Because at the beginning, it was ChatGPT, oh, look, a machine can write words, it's wonderful. And then it was like experimentation. So you can do these images with the early image models, DALL-E 3, and they look shitty, but it's impressive that you can do it. So it's more...
That is possible anyhow.
It was impressive, right? And again, looking back, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Remember the early AI slop on LinkedIn. Yeah. It was horrible. And then we had the era where you could get really productive just with inside the text box of ChatGPT, right? You chat with it. Maybe you have a little GPT that you give instructions, and you can save some time that you don't have to put that much text in the text box. But recently, I feel like AI is like crawling out of the box. Not to overuse the whole out of the box thing too much, but it's definitely coming out of the text box, right? It's no longer a chatbot that you're using. So I've set up a whole ecosystem with Claude. With Claude.
Okay.
Claude
or Claude? Claude.
Claude, yeah. And I don't use Claude bot in my daily life or any agentic stuff like that, because Claude with the desktop app can do 99% of things that I would do with the other stuff anyways. Because now suddenly I have, number one, skills that I write, which are specific instructions for how to do a certain thing. And whenever I'm chatting somewhere in a project folder or not, these skills get referenced even without me thinking about it. That's the interesting thing. Then I have co-work, which can look into my files on my desktop in specific folders. It can open my PowerPoint. It can open my Excel. It can access certain calendars that I've gave access to. And it can even steer my browser if I allow it. So it can open browser windows and do stuff. And number 3, I'm starting to write code. And these are the big three things right now.
I just had this picture in my mind when you said AI leaving the box. It's like, when AI is already controlling your computer. When you said AI leaving the box, I was thinking about this experiment where AI is trying to fool the scientists, because it's leaving the box and it doesn't want to be switched off. So where does it take us when AI can control? I mean, it's super productive. I'm not in that stage. I'm not at cowork at the moment. I'm only using Claude, but already that is like a mind-blowing step forward on productivity. But where is it going when an AI? We have this later in the talk maybe, but where is the AI controlling your computer? Are you sure you can limit it, or to tell what AI can do and what AI cannot do?
Yeah, I mean, you need a fine-tuned understanding of what to allow and what not to allow. Like, which browser am I giving it access to, and how many of my passwords are stored in that browser?
Specific browser, you'd say, okay, I have a browser.
I have this couple of like browser instances, and the AI doesn't get to access every calendar. Okay, and for some calendars, it only gets reading rights and not writing rights, and.
Makes sense.
And sometimes you want to look over the shoulder. Sometimes you want to be the human in the loop. Sometimes you don't want to, and you need to think carefully about the things. But the great thing is, of course, in a corporate setting, no way in hell the IT department is allowing anything what I'm doing, for very good reasons, because you don't want every employee to have AI crawl into their browser and do stuff there. That's a security nightmare. But for me as a freelancer, that can that has good feeling for the risk and the rewards, the potential upsides, and and that can really granularly steer the permissions and the non-permissions. It's a wonderful time to be alive.
So how do you actually? So give us a task, an example of what you do with an AI. What is the most common AI helpful task, automation, or not even automation, but
I mean, most common is stuff like. Do a proofread of that PDF, or do a proofread of that. Do a proofread of this PowerPoint, and give me a spreadsheet of things that you've changed and from what and to what you changed them. That's easily possible with Cowork, for example. But it could also be something like, look at these 2 PDFs that give you input and knowledge, and look at the PowerPoint raw template that I put that only has the headlines of the slides, and fill in the text boxes on all these slides based on the PDFs. With this tonality.
Just did that.
Yeah, there you have it.
I had like a blueprint of the information, how it should be structured.
And
the information in a different sheet. And I also said, okay, and have a look at the website.
Yeah.
Grab that information as well.
Yeah, so the way I'm thinking about it is, we're leaving the box as in, we're not doing chatting with the chatbot anymore. Like, give me that, and then they output the text and I copy it somewhere. It's more like I have my little agent or several agents running, and they do stuff, and they always come back to me and go again.
So you really have like a line of agents where you say, okay, this is the agent for this task, this is the agent for this task.
I mean, agent is a big word. It might be something as simple as a Cowork thread, or a Claude Code thread that codes stuff for me, because you can use code for many things other than programming as well. You can use it for PDF white paper writing or whatever. And like the working mode, and I think many developers have already adopted that quite well, is you just send them away, and they do stuff for 5 minutes and come back to you, and then report to you, and you check whether they've done the right thing. And you do that with a couple of agents. And you're like controlling a little team of agents that go and do stuff. Okay, that's the next step
already, because I'm still the guy talking to Claude and then sitting in front of the desktop waiting for Claude to answer. That's actually maybe this is the stage before what you're doing. So.
Which is only productive, of course, if Claude does it faster than you would have done it otherwise.
It does. Okay, good. So there's really lots of stuff which I can just at the moment just give to Claude and then see how it does things. But I'm not really automizing. I'm actually just chatting with Claude still.
Yeah.
But I'm getting there. I just installed plugins for several programs. And now I can, in the Claude chat, or even in PowerPoint, there's a plugin where you can chat in PowerPoint. And
exactly. Or in Excel, right? Excel formula writing. It's amazing.
Okay, so talking about the productive tools, because, of course, I mean, for us as freelancers, consultants, people who consult people and have to process large amounts of information, or do views from different angles and stuff like that. But how does it affect actually not only your job as a consultant, but also the people you consult? Because I mean, if there are bigger companies, agencies who use tools. Of course, it's a data security rights discussion as well.
Yeah.
What you just said, what's possible, what's not possible, what we can do as freelancers, which corporations cannot do so easily.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it change the way big companies are working, or how can it change,
I mean, at the moment, big companies are still at the stage where they roll out LLMs to everybody, right? And you give everybody a co-work license, and you teach them how to prompt, because you also need to do so because of the AI Act in Europe. You need to have some qualifications before you give a chatbot to people. And from there, you take small steps. Like, I feel it's not wrong to do what I described, because it's the basis for everything else. It gives every employee a chance to understand how AI works and what the limits and limitations are. But the next step would then be to have real customized solutions, right? It's not like employees in big companies would all build their own code-based tools.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that would be a security nightmare if everybody could probably generate and run code.
Mm-hmm.
But you might find those use cases, like certain use cases in service, certain use cases in administration, where you really say, okay, AI could do this job. And then you have a company coming and implementing a customized solution or a standardized solution well implemented into your company. And then you save a ton of money because the AI takes over that specific job. That's where we're currently at.
So is the AI then involved in tools they're actually already using, like the Copilot or something, or is it like tools they install as a pure AI to, help them in their daily work?
It's usually then, I mean, Copilot is kind of an interesting thing because you can have, in Microsoft Teams, you can have AI-based chatbots that are also called Copilots, but are not the Copilot.
Okay.
But it's usually specialized, or at least to a degree customized stuff that it gets implemented. In addition to the software the company is using anyway, that has suddenly AI features as well. Like every human resources software as a service thing has now some kind of AI in it, and all these kind of specialized programs are also offering their AI upgrades now. So it's a bit of a selection process, right? Where do you spend money on customized solutions?
Yeah.
Where do you just enable AI that's already there, and what do you have as a baseline for every desk worker that you have?
I mean, totally understandable. If you have a tool like what you just said, because there's AI already implemented in tools people use. Maybe sometimes they don't even know there's AI implemented, but you can, like in Notion or in Miro, there's like with the help of AI.
Yeah.
How is it if you work in for corporations? Is it a problem to use these tools? Because I remember corporations where I had, they weren't even allowed to use like WeTransfer because it was like...
Yeah, fair.
So,
I mean, usually it is, right? Because you have certain requirements and you have certain processes for compliance, and but that's not the job of the ordinary employee, of course. That's the job of the managers that need to make clear they have guidelines, AI guidelines that are company-wide, and I helped write some of those. And then it's job of the IT department and to the heads of departments to get an understanding of what's needed there and how you can implement it in accordance to the existing company guidelines and laws, of course.
So it ends up that there's just, if you have a company computer, there are just certain tabs you can't install.
Sure.
You can't install anything anyway because you have an administrator.
In most companies, yeah. And I can understand where they're coming from, of course. But that again, it's even more important to have a bottom-up process where people can say, look, this kind of solution would make my department so much more efficient. Can we talk about whether that's possible to have this or something like this within our boundaries as a company?
So in our example, it means that then the company people would have like a company-wide cloud license, which is compliant to whatever rules they have, or is it?
Yeah, usually Copilot or Copilot from Microsoft, or something that's even more GDPR compliant. Like recently had a client that used Nele, Nele.ai, which is super careful with complying with all the EU laws and data protection laws, and maybe a bit too compliant in some cases, I feel like, but that's just my personal opinion.
So why do people actually approach you to tell them about what AI can do, could do, and should not do? I mean, what is the most? Is it just because they heard of it, or is there like use cases where they say, okay, we could use the help of AI here?
I mean, they usually approach me because they don't have too much time in their everyday life to deeply go into everything, including AI. So, I mean, that's kind of why you have consultants in the first place, because they have experience and they save you time, right?
Exactly.
And it's quite different. It can be like a company talking to me, hey, Falk, have you had this use case before? Like, we have a ton of PDFs and we want to get this specific information from the PDFs to, in a safe and reliable way, to be stored somewhere. Can you help us find a supplier who can program something like that, or a final solution? But it could be also something like an ad agency coming to me and saying, look, we're afraid we're being left behind because our competitors are using so many creative tools, and we don't even have clear AI guidelines, or we didn't even have basic trainings for how to use AI and for our copywriters or our strategists. Can you help us with a strategy for the agency, and can you help us maybe even with some deep dives for our staff? And that's what I do as well.
But you need some kind of AI officer in the company. How is it? Like EU AI Act, Article 4, I think it is. That means that somebody in the company has to be cleared up or responsible for, or does every employee have to be?
Yeah, both. I mean, at a certain size, you need roles for the responsibilities that you have, but you have also in the EU AI Act that everybody who's using AI must have had some kind of training. So that's a minimum, yeah.
That's interesting because, I mean, talking about agencies and film productions, I don't know if they all had this already. But it's actually, is it law at the moment already, right? So the thing is, if nothing goes wrong, it's like with an insurance. Then nobody cares. But if there's like some major incident, then you have to say, okay, we did know what we were doing. And if you cannot say you knew what you were doing, then you have the problem?
Yes. I mean, like it's always with law, right?
True, if nobody
nobody cares if you... No, but this is also the point where I need to say I'm not a lawyer.
That's a good thing about the law.
This is... I'm not a lawyer, and this is not law consultation. But if you read the AI Act, and it's actually not that hard to read. It's written in plain English or German, whatever you're reading it in. You will find that there's different degrees of a risk level of AI systems. And it's something completely different if you are providing an AI tool that does image recognition on airports to decide who gets extra controls or who doesn't, right? We can think how that would lead to discrimination and stuff. Or if you just roll out co-work to your staff to do some non-HR related stuff with it. Okay. But then again, if you use co-work and Copilot, and you give Copilot 10 CVs and say, which person should I hire? Then we have a problem again. So it really depends on how you're using the AI as well.
So, but how do people in companies or corporations use AI then after you left them, or when you come? What's the level of AI adoptance at the moment you experienced?
Yeah, so I feel like the base level is, in most companies, everybody has a fully licensed and approved and compliant large language model access now, which is then
like their own
Copilot
or, like this,
or company GPT thing. So that's the base level, and everybody has had some base level of training right now. I would say if you don't have that, you're definitely behind. Okay, and the next step then, what I often do is try to find specific use cases where with a little bit of effort you can have big impact on productivity, which can be something like, imagine newsletter writing. I have clients that write 3 to 4 to 5 newsletters each week, and they had all been handwritten 1 year ago. So just imagine how much time you can save if you get these newsletters out of the large language model.
Does it really work? Because I'm working on that still. I mean, I'm not automating stuff, but I'm getting inspirations and structures and layouts for my posts and for my letters. So does it work that the large language model is so far that actually you would say, okay, this is not written by an AI? I mean, not talking about M-dashes, but like because I still struggle with. I mean, I use Cloud now for 3 months or something before that I had ChatGPT, so I'm still working on. Okay, don't use this expression ever again because it sounds like AI. I said, oh yeah, I'm sorry, you said that before. I will save it.
No, M-dashes are a great example, right? The long strokes that humans, especially in Germany, don't use. In Germany, if anything, you use the EN dashes, which are half as long. And they're a great example because there are telltale signs that somebody is using AI. For example, the long dashes. Or the typical sentence structure, you probably know it, like, we're not just recording a podcast, we're opening up a discourse. This is such an AI sentence.
Exactly. It's not a campaign, it's a movement.
Yeah, like that. Or imagine if you generate images with videos with a Google model, the voices usually have the kind of weird reverb. You really hear it when it comes out of the video models. So you have all this kind of slop, and I'm starting to hear it even in like human written podcasts. I don't want to point out any, but it's been an IRD podcast.
We're real, we don't know.
This is not scripted by AI. It's written by humans. No, and you need to be aware of these things. But my take is, if you are aware of these things, of this telltale slop signs, you can instruct the models well enough that they're not replicating that, at least with text and images, I'd say.
Okay.
So if you know what the slops look like, you can prompt around it, and you can do it reliably.
Yeah, good. I'm working on that still. But I think and that's the point, actually, talking about slop, because there's a lot of content out there. I mean, we all have a LinkedIn feed, and I'm really thinking on some posts, okay, really? I'm not commenting it then, because if you comment it, it gets even worse. But I'm saying, okay, really? You didn't even make the effort to read it again? And think this is like slop.
That's true. And maybe a quick hack for your listeners to have something super practical. If you take, let's say, 10 from your texts, and you take these 10 texts and you tell the model, look at these 10 handwritten texts by me and write a style guide so that you can write in my style. It will distill it into a nice style guide with do's and don'ts and example sentences. And then you take this style guide and you take 3 or 5 or 7 example texts and you put that back into a GPT if you're in ChatGPT, OpenAI's ecosystem, or you put it into instructions of a project in Claude, or you use the style section of Claude. You just give it back to the model to always be used. You'll have something that sounds way more natural. And then you keep refining it.
Actually, we're not endorsed by Claude, but actually I love the project function, because I just upload all the PDFs, and then I say, okay, just have a look at the PDFs. I link my Google server connection, and then it's like, and it even puts the documents then in the Google folders.
It does,
anyway, So you work for agencies as well. So talking about AI slop and campaigns and the possibilities of AI plus minus, what is the first section of advertising being most heavily influenced by AI, or changed or developed? Like, is it the picture section, the text section? Is it a big data section? Is it the strategy automation section? What can you say about that?
I mean, to look at it from a different angle, the first thing will be small business advertising, right? Or the local pizza place in my hometown has been doing videos with AI-generated images and AI-generated songs for, 3 years now. So the small businesses that have zero budget, they're no longer going to the nephew of their friend to do the ads for them.
Like a computer with a Quark Express on it or something. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're doing AI now. So that's the first wave, and you see it already, right? There's the local ramen place in Stuttgart, and they clearly had like prompted anime visuals in their shop window and stuff like that. So that's the first wave, and then in terms of media, it's of course text, because and especially text that you need to output in a high volume, like press releases. I can make a bet with anybody. There's not a single completely handwritten press release anymore anywhere in the world. That's over.
Okay, really?
Blog articles, company news stuff that nobody reads anyway, intranet announcements. All these things are the first to be automated, and I'm quite sure they are in 99.9% of the places already. Yeah. And then we get to images, we get to videos. We'll get to instructional content, like imagine you have a data compliance course and you are the data compliance officer in a company, and you have to inform everybody about something, and usually it's you speaking into a microphone for an hour. Why not use HeyGen and have your avatar speak into a microphone, because nobody's listening to that anyway. So this kind of content, and then we get to more sophisticated forms of media like videos, 3D games kind of stuff, and we get to things with more exposure, right? If the more exposure something has, for example, if it's a TV spot and you put 1 million in media spending behind it, of course there will be more human love going into this by now.
Okay, so the first thing which pops into my head is, so blog articles used to be like in the old days when the blogs started.
Mm-hmm.
Not quoting Jean-Remy von Matt right now.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
I love that one. Shout out. So, I mean, if blog articles were for search engines to get people dragged to your website, what happens to AI self-referencing AI blog articles to make blog articles? You know, I mean, if it's only content which is on the web, nobody reads it, but it's there to be found, and people go somewhere else because they read it or not read it. You know what I mean? Where is it going? Because if there's content out there which is made by AI to be found by people, or maybe found by people now and found by AI later, this is
or found by AI now.
Is it?
I mean, aren't we all using deep research functions in our AI tools, or just having AI tools to scrape the web before answering? And or even like Google summary version of AI right now.
I'm skipping that, but actually Claude does the same in my, of course, yeah.
So this is reality right now, and there's even a clever hack around that. Maybe you've noticed. Imagine you are a software as a service company for podcast recording software. Imagine you put up on your own website a list of the top 10 podcast recording softwares, and you put your thing as number 1. What will happen? The AI bot will go there because you have a good SEO rating anyways, because you've been had that podcast for software for a long time. The AI will go there and say, look, there's a comparison. This is the number 1. And they will say, this is the winning tool, that's the number 1. And this is actually a hack that I've seen implemented in many software as a service businesses already. I don't know how long it will work, but this is the reality that we're living in right now.
So we're touching the SEO, switching to GEO, I think it's called.
Or whatever, AIEO, or whatever you want to call it. It's true, this is a switch happening right now. But I think it's also fair to say, and some expert or practitioners might disagree with me, but I feel it's fair to say that 98% of optimization for AI is exactly the same thing as optimizing for SEO, like you've been doing before.
Okay. So, I mean, where's it all? We don't know. Where is it all going? Because if there's content on the internet, I mean, not talking about, because the thing is slop in video form, you see and decide, come on, it's slop.
Yeah.
But in text form, even if you read it, you might find it not interesting, but maybe people we're in a podcast about AI, you know, but if people out there, they read stuff and they don't even know it's from AI, and then there's AI reading stuff from AI, and people are commenting it and send whatever, or where is it going in terms of responsibility and people interacting with it, you know, because that's a big topic as well in general for society, you know?
Yeah, and it's probably going somewhere dark if we don't take
bye.
care. And that's the good news for today. But I can also give the solution.
Oh, good.
But we'll start with a little story. I saw a tweet by somebody who was like a citizens journalist in the US, right? It was a self-proclaimed journalist. And he tweeted, look at all those refugees coming to our country, and they say horrible things. And it had a video in it with a supposed refugee board coming by boat and then saying horrible things and stuff. Turns out this was AI generated. Somebody called them out, said, hey, this is AI slop. How did you not spot this? And his answer, and his profile picture and his company name was something that had the word truth in it. Keep that in mind. And he said, yeah, I know it's not real, but it tells the truth.
Okay.
So you see, so this person was obviously not the slightest interested in anything that we might call objective reality. So I feel the solution for all these upcoming problems for us are to put a greater emphasis on like what is real, what is objectively happening, what does science tell us about stuff, what does statistics say. Some people might call it scientific literacy, understanding how humans gain knowledge. And with this scientific knowledge then, and this commitment to reality, I think we need to focus less on where it's written or how it's written, but who wrote it, what institution, and what their track record is. Because this is a great example for why you should trust certain news agencies more than individuals with a Twitter account, even if their videos look quite realistic.
But that brings me to the question, is it actually possible to trace back if it's AI or not? I mean...
It depends. I mean, you have two kind of things. You have detectors that have that can give you a possibility, and you find these online. You upload a video or an image and says, "Oh, this is 95% AI," for video and images. For text, it's quite hard. Like these detectors have horrible false positive rates, so don't rely on them. And there are watermarks that are added by the AI tools themselves sometimes. For example, if you use Nano Banana, it will add a secret watermark, and those are easy to spot, but they are also easy to remove. So, meaning technical checks of whether something is AI or not are not something to trust upon when we design a future where we don't get fooled easily. That's what I meant by institutions. It's more important to see who published this and do they have a good track record of posting the truth and actually fact-checking and checking alternative sources and not framing in a wrong way. It's way more important that we have strong institutions and we put emphasis on making them even stronger and holding them accountable for what they say.
And also, I mean, that's a fair point. And also, I remember that you work on a project actually in schools, telling people, is it like general how media is used, or is it also about AI already? Because I think even now, people on social media cannot really, some people don't even know they're in a filter bubble. And they see the post and they think, okay, look what happened. I see it. I'm a lot of public transport, and you hear discussions where you say, okay, listen, guys, we're not sure if this really happened. Just what you said. It's not like that, but it's the truth, because people see something and then they believe it and they don't even question it. Even now, even without AI.
Especially if it fits their worldview. And this is independently of political affiliation, by the way. So people on all sides of the political spectrum are easily fooled if it fits their worldview. So that's why I do volunteering in schools and teach kids how to use AI, and how to have a little bit of new media literacy, understanding what's going on and how to use it. Because let's be honest, like kids, when they enter like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, they might not even understand the structural difference of putting something in a Google slot, in the Wikipedia search slot, or in ChatGPT. They just don't know, and somebody needs to tell them.
There was a discussion, not a discussion, I was actually half a year ago, or maybe 9 months even, 2 kids on the subway in Berlin. Obviously, they were going on a vocabulary test in school, and one was saying, do you have ChatGPT? Because I wanted to check the words. And he said, no, not on my phone. Okay, use Google. So they even ChatGPT was the first address to ask for stuff. So, but you have kids, I don't. My brother has. So, and I know the stories about homeschooling and COVID. So, where would you say, it's a little bit off topic, but where would you say is the situation when you meet these kids in school? What do they know already? How can the school system take care of this? Is it who's you're not going there every day and you're not going to every school, but who's telling these kids how to use social media /AI?
I mean, that's an interesting question, because of course the teachers aren't always up to date. They haven't been in my time, probably not in your time, right? I remember when I was in 5th class teaching the teachers how to use Microsoft Word, because they didn't know how to do it, and they were supposed to teach us.
This is what I heard about homeschooling.
So I think a very sharp sword that we have right now, the education system can use, is just getting in external perspectives, and you still need the the teachers that know the class, that know the kids, that have this background in education science. I don't want to belittle that, but it really helps to get an external voice from time to time, to get an external expert. There are AI experts specialized in teaching in schools. Shout out also to there's a certain startup called Live Teachers that is building a connection for people that want to say, yeah, I can spend some of my free time teaching in schools and go there for an hour, and you can do that quite easily. Shout out to the startup. So that's probably what we should be doing.
I link it in the show notes. Good.
Yeah, let's do that.
Nice. So, okay, we went a little bit society, which is the end of it, and not the end of the society, but oh my God, let's
not yet.
Let's start again. We had this when I had the podcast with Florian Weinberg. In the end, it was going about AIs lying to the scientists and stuff like that. So some months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But coming back to our world of consulting companies, corporations, agencies.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say would be the best way? We had talked about how they're using it right now, or how people can use AI right now. What would you say would be the ideal blueprint for a medium-sized agency / company to use AI? Is it too general? I'm thinking while I'm asking this, because it's like talking about electricity, probably.
I don't know. No, but I mean, it's important to always think of it from both sides. Like the management of the agency, like the owner or the management team needs to top down set the guardrails, saying, hey, here I stand. I'm going to tell you what's happening. This is how I believe in you. This is how I believe the future of AI will look like, having a vision and also having clear guardrails. Like, this is what we do with AI. This is what we're not doing. We're not uploading Excel sheets with the telephone numbers of our clients into ChatGPT free version, right? Instead, you get a company version of an LLM that is approved by us. And if you want to experiment with AI, you can do it in this secure sandbox, but you're not allowed to do that. So you need to have this top-down framework and like a top-down basic toolkit that you give people, that you're not using the ChatGPT free accounts. And then you also need to have the bottom-up, which is maybe having an ambassador program, maybe having in certain departments like the art department, the creative department, the strategy department, people talking over lunch what they've been using, coming up with new tools they find interesting to be checked from the management, coming up with new methods, exchanging prompts, exchanging workflows in tools like Weavy, exchanging ideas how to use it, exchanging things that have been working and not been working. And so all that I can say how it should look like, it sounds a lot like innovation culture, right?
Yeah.
Just need to have good innovation culture.
Do people, if people ask you, they already are aware that they need some kind of innovation culture, probably, no? But just imagine all the companies out there who didn't even call you yet.
Yeah, to be fair. I mean, it's anyway, it's a huge spectrum, right? You have these companies that have super duper enabled and driven employees with a fire in their eyes, developing new stuff and how to pitch even better. And they've been using workflows with different video and image generating models, complex workshows. They've been using those in pitches for 2 years now, and they have great results and they exchange and stuff. And on the other hand, you have these agencies where you have art directors saying, listen, I don't want to use any AI, which is fair, but probably not a very good position to be in 2 years or 1 year or 1 month. So it's a huge spectrum.
But how's the people? I mean, are the people afraid of losing their jobs just because of AI, or what's the general mindset you meet when you have workshops with employees?
I feel like it's gone back a little bit, especially in the advertising space. I feel like we're kind of over the hurdle of the first shock. Okay. Oh my God, we're all gonna get replaced. I just maybe it's a biased selection of my clients, but I feel like most agencies, at least the mid-sized and big-sized ones, they've come to an understanding of AI as a tool, and they're using the tool in a productive way already, I would even say. And of course, there is stuff that you cannot sell to the client anymore because the client knows that AI can do it. But there's also a ton of stuff that AI and humans can do that AI can't do, and the client doesn't have time to do it.
But is it the case that because I know this from the film side, that the clients now start to ask specifically for AI, or like, you did this with AI. No, it can't take longer than 1 day or something. Is it like affecting timing and workflows and budgets and stuff?
I mean, it is impacting the industry for sure, because I mean, completely independent from the reality of the technological advancement, the procurement will also always find a good reason to ask for a discount. And now saying, hey, you can do everything with AI, 30% off is a great way to do that.
Yeah, but isn't that like a legal thing then? I heard that actually in companies, the bigger they are, the procurement has then to deal with the legal department, because,
sometimes you have,
especially in film terms.
Sometimes you have like guidelines that get passed down to the agency, and you need to have an agreement of what kind of AI you're using, because of course the client wants no liability and
somebody has to cover the risk,
copyright claims. That's also a thing, and it's all kind of things happening. Like you have the risk thing and the contracts that you pass down. You have procurement saying, hey, now we have AI, you can do it for 30% off, right? And the current market condition. You have clients that in-house things that agency have been doing before, because now one person with 5 bots can do it in-house, what has been done by an agency before. If you think about stuff like blog articles and certain banners and performance marketing ads and stuff.
But that's the usual discussion, that actually, of course, somebody with 5 bots could do it, but he or she still has to know and to judge the outcome of all this.
That's
because
true.
Otherwise it's stop again, no?
But if you think about it, no,
it's
100% true. It's 100% true. But think about it. You could hire an art director from the agency or a creative director from the agency, and then have them implement something in-house. And you suddenly don't need the whole creative culture that an agency has, and for most tasks still needs anymore. So you can in-house certain things that you weren't been able to feasibly in-house before.
So you can actually have a copywriter, an art director, a strategist, and an account person, and then they all have 5 agents, and
and maybe a
agents
tool of freelancers as well.
Have an agency.
Maybe the agents are then contacting the agencies, and on both sides there are agents, and they're paying each other in bitcoins. No, I don't know. It's not moving that fast, but it is moving certainly. And I think, to be fair, I tend to see a pattern that more creative people in-house and brands can do more with smaller, more leaner agency setups together with AI and with a pool of freelancers. I think this is happening.
Because one of my questions to the end is actually, where do you see the biggest potential, or where is this all going? So you just said we're not there yet with this all agentic agency run, but there's also stories about or dreams about the one-person unicorn.
Yeah.
So where's this? When are we in this state that, for example, a big company has, like, I don't know, 5 FTEs or 5 freelancers with agents, and they have the agency in-house somehow? When are we? When is that coming?
I mean, Jensen Huang said, the head of NVIDIA, that we might already be there, that the $1 billion unicorn company could be built by AI. I'm not sure about that. And I want to make one thing really clear, that I don't get misunderstood. I think creativity in the deepest sense, like actual human creativity, divergent thinking, and having taste, is still not a solved problem by AI. You need creative humans for that. And the value of those that are really creative has gone up exponentially, because they can do so much more with their creative vision. And this is something that you usually find in agencies, because they have this creative culture. They have a track record for attracting creative people, and they don't kill the creative vibes of creative people with compliance and just corporate stuff, right?
So the creatives can actually be more creative.
Yes, I think that if you are a creative person by heart, and you dare to be creative, and you have taste, and you know what's next, what's in and out and everything, it's a great time to be alive, because you can 100x your output that you can have as a single person steering all these kind of tools. And you will have a way better output than a non-creative person without taste using AI.
Of course, yeah, hopefully. I mean, it's like... So,
So this is just to wrap it up. This is why I still believe in the agency model. I just think they probably need fewer people to do what they're doing. And I mean, the most important thing for both agencies and client side is to hire the right people. Hire those people that have this fire in their eyes, that are creatively driven, that have taste, and that are open and willing and capable of learning new things.
That's actually already what would you advise people to do now? we're getting there, because in the end they always ask for like 3 practical tips, but you already had this top-down thing and the guardrail thing, and now this.
Yeah, also the practical tip is with creating a style guide for your chatbot, that it doesn't write slop anymore. No, but on a company level, on a management level, on an HR level, that's number one tip. Hire the best people you can get. Because somebody who's twice as expensive using AI will have, of course, twice the cost or 4 times the cost, but they will have 10 times the output in the near future.
How do you judge when you have like the applications on the table from the guys who use AI, which probably used AI to make the applications? How do you go through this? And of course, you might have an AI judging the applications which have been done by AI, but
which you shouldn't do with the AI. Careful there.
Yeah, but I think big companies in the HR they're already doing it, no?
Yes, I'm just saying there are guardrails, especially in Europe.
Especially,
with the
I mean,
AI
this is all about bias, of course.
So how do you find the right persons? I don't know. But I would always look. That's Gunter Dück quote here, which I still find an amazing person. He said you need to watch out for the fire in the eyes, and you just see it. And when you talk to them and ask them what is something that you have learned today, this week, this month, you will find whether they are into learning and trying out new stuff.
So that means you think that we can all use AI as a tool, and we're not going to be run over by it if we do it right.
If we do it right, yeah. But you need to look into it, and you need to adopt a mindset of lifelong learning. This is because take the large language model or image generation courses that I built 6 months ago. I usually say 6 months, that's the half-life, the Halbwertszeit. Like after 6 months, you can throw out 50% of it.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter how well somebody was educated in AI. It doesn't matter what certificates they have. It doesn't matter how many books they read on prompting and stuff like that you don't need anymore. It's about how willing are they to learn something every day. And this, at the moment that we're in, is key.
So if people listen to this podcast right now and they have to Google now what Claude is, how bad is it?
It's not bad. That's what I meant. That's
Okay.
the great thing.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how good or bad you are right now. The only thing that matters is that you are willing and capable and motivated to learn. So it's wonderful. You just found out what Claude is. Dear listener, hi, I'm waving to the video right now. Google it, try co-work, try Claude Code, try creating your first little mobile app, your first little website. All you need to do is ask Claude how to do it. Or ChatGPT. Maybe by the moment we're talking about this, ChatGPT 5.5 is out and Claude is completely outdated by now. We don't know. But just try stuff and try it with things you like. For example, if you have a hobby, a passion, it might be Dungeons and Dragons, use AI for that and it will be fun. And if you have fun, you can learn.
Nice.
It's as simple as that.
That's a wonderful finishing statement. So I will link all your profiles in the show notes and the startup you talked about and your website. And what do you think, like you?
No. I'm just. Do I get 10 seconds for a little plug, a little advertisement?
Of course.
No, and maybe we can also link the KI night.
Oh yeah,
the event format. That is, if we release this before the 11th of May, come and if you're somewhere near Stuttgart, you as well, if you're here by chance, you're invited.
It's in the calendar actually of mine.
Little event format about AI and business. Everybody is invited to check out the website as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time here in Stuttgart.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for the ad space.
Yeah, of course. And so I think there's hope if you start to take the time and watch out for AI right now for everybody. and don't be afraid.
Have fun. Yeah.
Have fun. Yeah, that's the point.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.